Hello, friends. It's another episode of the 3rd and 20 Dynasty League. Nope, sorry. Messed that up. Another episode of the 3rd and 20
The what?
Dynasty Pod.
What was that?
I was going to say Dynasty League. I don't know why. Well, we are in 2 leagues together. Maybe that's why we're talking about.
Three.
We're in more than that.
No,
JC.
two 3rd and 20 Dynasty Leagues.
Oh, okay.
We're
All right.
boshing this intro.
Jesus
Season 3, episode
Christ.
10. I'm sorry. We're on to week 4/week 5. We're talking about week 4. We're moving on to week 5. A lot went down this week. A lot. All right. So probably the biggest news, I'm just going to lead off with this, is from the Thursday night game. It was Tua was just, it was questionable whether or not the Dolphins should have even started Tua this week on Thursday. People were wondering as it happened. He took a big hit in the Thursday night game against the Bengals. Back of his head smashed against the ground, and immediately he was doing what they called fencing, where kind of like lost motor function, especially in his hands. Luckily, he has movement in all of his extremities. The MRI came back fine, and now he's just in concussion protocol, which I say just, I mean, concussion's like a serious injury, but like considering what could have happened, it could have been way worse. But that has sparked protocol changes along the league. It's gotten a doctor fired, or a specialist. I forget what their official title was, but someone's been fired from the NFL. Just crazy stuff coming out of Miami. I don't know if there's that much actionable advice here from a dynasty perspective. I mean, you're probably just Tua's already been ruled out for this week. Maybe he's out for another week. I don't think he's going to be out for a crazy amount of time, though. Do you guys?
I think it's going to be longer than you think, just because of, the spotlight that game was on a nationally televised, Thursday night game. And on top of the fact that doctors have been fired and protocol changes have been put into place due to this injury, I think he's going to be held out probably, I would say, closer to 4 or 5 weeks. I really do.
You think a whole month to no Tua?
I would not be shocked. Now, on the other hand, if it came back and he was, missed 1 week, misses this week against the Jets, and then he's back, I would also not be shocked. But I just think it's one of these injuries that you're not going to know how it is until it happens, just because it's a concussion. It's not like he pulled a hammy and you can go, oh, it's typically this amount of time. It's a head injury, which is different to everyone, and the scrutiny that the Dolphins have received because of it. I think they're going to lean on the safer side and hold him out a few extra weeks on that. And with that being said, I think the only interesting thing that could come of this is how real is Tua. I think we'll really get to see it if, Teddy comes out and struggles. I think it's going to really put an emphasis on what Tua does for this Dolphins team and make people realize actually how valuable he can be. But it could go the other way, where Teddy looks exactly the same and he's worth nothing.
Classic Dolphins truther move to take this injury and then spin it into, well, when Teddy struggles, we're going to see how good Tua is, and he's going to be worth even more. Like, just spin zone that into a positive segment.
I just can't.
Tua is going to be worth even more when Teddy goes out there and throws for 100 yards on 12 attempts. It's going to be horrible. So I'm looking forward to it.
The Dolphins are playing the Jets, where I think it's probably going to be the Raheem Mostert, Chase Edmonds show for the most part, I would think.
Yeah, I would assume so.
There's no... I don't even know if I want to ask this question.
Okay. You already did.
You're already
We'll cancel you.
What are the Twitter doctors saying? Are they saying this is going to be like a 9 years injury?
I haven't seen any.
Is there long-term ramifications?
I haven't seen any. Those guys love to get on their soapboxes though, and virtue signal, but like a lot of them want Mike McDaniel's head for this. Yeah, but it's like, if Tua's coming to you and saying no, I'm fine, and the
doctors are saying the same thing, like you're gonna play him,
Isn't it their job to say whether or not he can play? I guess Mike McDaniel can override and say no, you are not going in, but it's not his job to be you're injured or not.
Yeah, and not only that, it's a weird situation for Mike McDaniel to be like, I know more than you, doctors, like people that went to school for forever for this, whose literal job is this. Like, I know more than you guys. Like, I'm sitting Tua. Now, hindsight 2020, like Tua probably, well, definitely shouldn't have played that game. But like, I'm not putting the fault on Mike McDaniel.
No, I don't think you can possibly put the fault on Mike McDaniel. I saw somebody say it is his fault, and they brought up some story. You might actually remember this, Frank, of Mike Tomlin holding out Ryan Clark from a game in Denver because he has sickle cell.
Completely different.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's a completely different scenario because like that's something that's been done before Tomlin with people with sickle cell in Denver. It's just like it's a known thing. And he chose to do it even though Ryan, what's his name? Ryan Clark, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Clark. Well, yeah, he had played in that stadium before and had hugely negative, potentially life-threatening consequences. Like, completely different scenario than, in the middle of the game, this thing happens. You know, the doctor probably saying to you that he can go back in. You're trying to win the football game. Tua probably wants to go back in.
Oh, he 100% did.
Yeah, all right, let's move on, though. I'm getting tired of this one.
All right. Moving us on to a season-long injury, Javonte Williams tore his ACL and other parts of his knee, too. From what I've read, it's essentially the J.K. Dobbins injury part 2. Mm-hmm. We'll get to J.K. Dobbins later in this episode, but pretty brutal for Javonte Williams, who was ranked in that like top 5 RB discussion. It looked like he was just about to start fully breaking away from Melvin Gordon, too, who like for some reason no longer can handle it, like hold on to the ball, Melvin Gordon. Now we're looking at a full year without Javonte Williams. This 2023 class coming in, which has, I mean, depending on who you ask, 4 or 5 top running backs. I don't know.
Wait, what's so funny, Jake?
Joe Hebert has said, "I held myself at a dessert because I was full. I take full responsibility."
I respect me.
All right, actual impacts of this. First off, Mike Boone, probably the most popular waiver claim of this week. Does he have any chance of now being the Melvin Gordon in this offense?
No.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. Fool me like 5 times, Mike Boone. Like, it's not happening. I'm not believing it. They signed Latavius Murray. I think Latavius Murray has a way better chance than Mike Boone.
And Melvin Gordon. He's still there.
But yeah,
Melvin Gordon will also be there. But
is Melvin Gordon in that range where he can be a top 24 back? Not in terms of dynasty value, but in terms of he can produce those type of numbers running back without Javonte there.
I think so.
I don't know.
Listen, I'm still going to say at some point this Broncos offense has to click. It has to.
All right. Let me
they have to figure it out.
Is Kareem Hunt top 24?
Yeah.
So what about like there's a lot of like these pass catching backs that like sneak into the top 24 without you knowing. Like I'm sure Nyheim Hines is probably going to come close. I think J.D. McKissick will probably come close.
Probably.
There's a lot of these guys where you start to dwindle down, you know, who could make it into the top 24. Do I think Melvin Gordon will be like a fine like flex play? Sure, but I don't like him as my running back too. I don't want.
No,
Melvin
but you
Gordon
were.
as my
If you
running
have
back.
him, you weren't planning on it for the season anyway.
Well, if you had Javonte,
it's just kind of found money. If you were a Melvin Gordon rosterer.
What's the price tag on him? You guys think?
I saw a league. Now this isn't the actual, but I saw him get traded for a 2024 first.
Oh,
Wow!
I think he's comfortably in that second range. I would not give up an early second for him. I probably myself just wouldn't give up a second for him, but like he's comfortably in that second range, I would assume.
he has to be, just because if you're trading for him, you're clearly going to be a contender and just looking for points this season. So I think he's going to demand a second at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to be selling Melvin Gordon. I hope I still have him in the 3rd and 20 league because I'm going to be sending out some trades.
No, you sent him to me, Jimbo.
Dang.
Rough. There's no way. Everyone who's listening, do not give Jake a first from Melvin Gordon.
I would be.
I'm just gonna keep him. I'm gonna keep him. I think
I would be easily offering out Melvin Gordon for a second. I look at other running backs that I felt like have reached a second round pick or lower in recent times. We're talking about guys like James Conner, James Robinson. There's definitely a couple others that I'm not thinking about off the top of my head.
Leonard Fournette probably got close once he got
Leonard Fournette. I just think if I'm going to spend, and on top of just keeping the second to use it or in a different trade, right? I'm going to pay a second round pick for a 29-year-old running back who I could struggle to get a third for before the Javonte injury. Now the Javonte injury is going to catapult this guy into a second round pick. Yeah, I will sell on that easy, even as a contender.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right. Well, speaking of old running backs, we have Cordarrelle Patterson is now on IR. It was a knee issue that he was struggling with prior to this week, and then I guess it just got re-aggravated, and they need to do some kind of minor procedure. But from what sounds like, he should be back sometime later on this season. Seems like sooner rather than later, but I don't know. Not a doctor. But this leaves that Atlanta Falcons backfield wide open. You have Caleb Huntley, who kind of took over last week, along with Tyler Algier, who, according to that one model, was the top running back of all time. That's a meme from earlier episodes. So you got those two, but then you also have, I'm going to get this right, it's Dameon Williams, not Darrell Williams. Dameon Williams, who has been out, but is expected back in this next week or two. So those three guys, I think there's someone else, Parker Hesse maybe, I don't know. There's someone else on this team where we have a very ambiguous Atlanta Falcons backfield. What are we doing with this bunch?
I'm sending in a waiver claim for Caleb Huntley. 100%. If I have a couple leagues, I'm dropping full budget on him. I don't give a fuck.
Full budget,
all or nothing. He's, to me, a potential home run swing that I'm willing to. Maybe I won't go full budget. Maybe I'll go like a decent chunk, but I'm going to be fucking getting him. I can guarantee you I'm going to be the one getting those claims if I have fab.
So, Frank, if I pick up Caleb Huntley in every single league that I have more fab than you, will you trade me the exact amount of fab for them?
Yeah, I might. I don't care about fab. I don't care. Dameon Williams, but Joe was right. Dameon Williams, I think, could be interesting, but I think he's just going to be rostered in a lot of leagues. I know that I have Dameon Williams in a couple leagues personally, so I imagine that trend is going to continue across others. I'm not going to buy into any of these guys for actual capital, though.
To me, Caleb Huntley seems fine, but I just think he's going to be behind Dameon Williams in this backfield. I don't think Caleb Huntley is actually a good running back. I think they just played a kind of soft run defense where the game script, I wouldn't say favored the Falcons, but they definitely wanted to run the ball more than pass, as seen by how bad Marcus Mariota was. I think it was more of a statement that they ran it so many times. I just don't think these guys are going to be reliable long term, because first off, I just think Cordarrelle Patterson also will be back in maybe 4 or 5 weeks. And I think when Cordarrelle Patterson's back, he's the guy, as seen by the first 4 weeks. All right. I don't know if you guys have anything to add to that, but if not, we do have one more injury to talk about. That's my guy, the one that I was touting as the wide receiver one, who has produced somewhat, but hasn't fully popped off like Drake London and Garrett Wilson, and that is Treylon Burks. He has turf toe, the dreaded turf toe. Way worse for running backs than for receivers, but I think Davante Adams is who comes to mind when I think of turf toe, and that really caused him to struggle. What would you say? That was 3 years ago? Yeah, 2019. I just looked it up. Davante Adams had turf toe. Struggled with it. I don't know, guys. What are we doing about this? First off, rest of the season, what's the outlook on Treylon Burks? We don't know how long he's out for. We don't know what's going on. Second, is there any wide receiver to trust on this Titans offense?
Yeah, there's no
You're
one.
muted, Jake.
Jake, you're muted, but there's no one to trust on this offense. No shot.
No, yeah, there's not.
All right, fair enough. But all
No
right,
one to trust. Maybe Robert Woods is a little bit more consistent, but even then, it's yikes.
I don't even trust Derrick Henry at this point. I know he's been going off recently, but like we saw what he did the first few weeks. I know that's typical Derrick Henry starting slow, but I don't know. This team just seems off this year.
I wouldn't be terribly scared of still starting Tannehill, though. I just feel like this is going to be one of those, we're going to rotate a lot of personnel. We're going to use some wacky formations. I'm not scared for Derrick Henry necessarily. Now, I don't have it. I've traded all the Derrick Henrys in the world, but I find it hard to imagine that he's going to struggle because of Treylon being there or not being there. I don't
No, it has
that makes
nothing to do with
difference.
it has nothing to do with Treylon. It's just in general, he's getting older and the Titans don't look as good. That kind of thing.
I just think that to me, that's more of an offensive line issue than it is their weapons issue. I mean, Joe's gonna be in the chat saying, "What's his name? Yeah, Kyle Phillips." That Kyle Phillips is gonna show that he's the true rookie wide receiver one from this team.
yeah, doubt. The problem I have is, does someone like JT Rumor Mill starting up here? Does someone like Will Fuller end up on this team?
No.
No, like is Will
Just
Fuller
not
just
sure he
dead?
fits the offense.
But where is Will Fuller? Is he just gone forever? Like, is there no Will Fuller?
Apparently.
I think he might be waiting for the playoffs to shape up to come in and ring chase.
I mean, if you want a division to join the Titans, the AFC South, there's no good team there. Like the Jags looked okay, but they just got pretty much trounced by they won the first quarter against Philly and then got destroyed after that. And then you have the Texans, who are the only team yet to get a win, and the Colts, who Matt Ryan just looks old at this point. Like he's old. They don't look like a playoff team either. So if I'm Will Fuller, I'm looking at those Titans. There's plenty of room for my opportunity to grow in that offense, and I don't know. It seems like it'd be a good payday.
So yeah, no one's lower on Burks because of the injury, right?
No.
But I would hold off on buying him and just wait for a couple more bad or 0 point weeks. Like I think his price is just going to go down before it goes up.
I agree. I do think the Treylon window is opening right now. If you wanted to buy,
yeah, I think there's enough kicks in the shin for Treylon owners that some of them are going to be getting pissed off.
I think it started to open a little bit when you had Drake London and Garrett Wilson just going off, and then I guess kind of Chris Olave too, and maybe Dotson. But now it's like kick. Yeah, well, there's a lot of good wide receivers going off, but now it's like kicked open at this point because you're going to have all these good guys, and you're going to have a Treylon Burks who didn't really produce a whole lot when he was there. Like he did with the limited opportunity he had, but he had limited opportunity. So what's that all about? And now you're going to get at least a couple games of 0 points. So I don't know. I think there will be a very good time to buy Treylon Burks. All right, moving us along though to our next segment, the welcome back to the league or welcome to the league in some instances. And starting us off is Kenny Pickett. Mike Tomlin was quoted saying, Frank's team, Mike Tomlin was quoted saying that they need energy. Like this team needed some kind of spark. They took Mitch out at halftime, put in Kenny Pickett. His stat line does have 3 interceptions. It also has 2 rushing touchdowns. So he actually had a decent fantasy game from a 1/2 perspective. But all right, first off, just get an easy question out of the way. Is Mitch dead? Like, are we just?
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, no more.
As a starter, he'll stick. I don't think he's out of the league. I think he'll stick around as a.
He's
backup.
like
okay. I think for like this season, he might be dead. He actually did have some nice throws in the game, but it is like Tomlin said. This team did need energy, and I'll be the first one to admit Kenny Pickett looked pretty impressive. Obviously, the stat line with the 3 interceptions doesn't look great. One of them's a Hail Mary, so are we really gonna, say that that's a huge deal, right? The 3 interceptions. One was just on a dumb throw, which he's gonna immediately want back, right? It's not like he knows it or doesn't know it. Excuse me, but he did bring this offense some energy. He was way more willing to take shots down the field, I feel like, than Mitch. Um, Especially just seeing the shots downfield. It just feels like Kenny Pickett when he's in there. Maybe he's a little bit too gunslingery, but he's not missing players that are open down the field. Whereas you can go back and watch the games with Maserati Mitch. He was taking deep shots. He was just missing the open ones, which was the more frustrating thing. I don't know if that will continue or not because we're going to have to see a lot more out of Kenny Pickett. But from what I've been hearing around the Dynasty sub, Twitter, talking heads on ESPN and everything, I think people are massively underpricing the Steelers offense right now.
Well, let me start off by one. I would much rather my rookie quarterback be like that gunslinger kind of player than a very conservative. I mean, we'll look at like just the previous 2 years. It's the Justin Herbert versus the Tua. It's the, Trevor Lawrence versus kind of Mac Jones, Justin Fields more so maybe. These guys just aren't making those big time throws, which is what you want to see out of quarterback. So I'm all for Kenny Pickett chucking it, even though, some of those might end up in interceptions. But I mean, with the receivers he has and like Claypool, I just mentioned Claypool first because he's the one that kind of he chucked it up to, and then he gave the interception away a little bit. But Claypool, Pickens, and Deontay Johnson, I think he's got those guys that can just go get up and get it, like if you put it in their vicinity. I do agree with you, Frank. I mean, I haven't checked Keep Trade Cut, and I'm not sure if it's going to accurately reflect the change so far. But I have to imagine that Deontay Johnson's probably taken a bit of a dip just because George Pickens got targeted a bunch. This team's looked pretty bad, but I'm very much in on Deontay Johnson right now, as I am with all of these kind of receivers. I think this is a boost for this receiving team. The only one that I'm kind of fading the noise on right now is George Pickens, just because I don't think that 35% target share is sustainable. I think at the end of the day, Deontay Johnson's the top dog. This is similar to what we saw with Joe Flacco and Garrett Wilson. Like, it's just that they had that rapport with each other from training camp and everything. Kenny Pickett wasn't really getting much of the first team snaps. Like, he's going to be more acquainted with George Pickens than he is a Claypool or a Deontay Johnson. So with that, I think it will regress. But I like them. I like all these receivers. Yes, Jake?
I hammered George Pickens at like 50 plus yards over the weekend. And I think I forget
it was looking bleak first half.
Plus 280 or plus 400 or something. It was ridiculous. Yeah, I just think the thing is for me with this offense, I think is being underpriced though, is that everyone will admit the Steelers have weapons, but they don't want to admit that the offensive line has been showing remarkable improvements from last year. It hasn't been completely all sunshine and roses, but especially in terms of the pass protection, this offensive line unit has taken major strides from last season. And now that you saw the quarterback change give a little bit of a spark, Kenny Pickett making some just better off platform, maybe more consistent. I think that was the problem with Mitch, is that you look at some of his best throws. I mean, he was making some fucking dimes, but then the other couple of plays in the drives and for most of the game, he's missing stuff and not making any plays. At least Pickett is doing with some level of consistency. He's the same quarterback, it seems like, every play. It's not this complete roller coaster that ends up not scoring any points.
All right, this is where, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked a little bit, but this is where I'm saying I'm fading the noise on George Pickens. He's rated as wide receiver 21 right now on Keep Trade Cut, while Deontay Johnson
jumps that much.
Yeah, while Deontay Johnson's wide receiver 28. And I just think Deontay Johnson's the top guy on this.
Dude, did you
I
see
want
that
Deontay Johnson.
Do you see that catch he almost had, Deontay, from Maserati Mitch?
Mm-hmm.
This dude is making the most ridiculous. I mean, that's a centimeter away from being a touchdown.
Yeah. So I still like George Pickens, but like I also like the other guys. And in the
dude,
case
if you
of
can
Johnson,
flip Deontay for Pickens plus, I'm sorry, Jake. I like Pickens too, but that's just a good move.
Wait, you mean Pickens for Deontay plus?
Pickens for Deontay plus. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I don't have any doubts that Deontay is the receiver one in Pittsburgh. He has been and he will be. I just think we've seen that you could have a pair of receivers be successful together, and I think he's a guy that is better than Claypool, and he showed exactly that this week. So I wouldn't be surprised if Deontay still gets his as the number one, but Pickens is now the clear two because of familiarity, like you said, practice time basically with Kenny Pickett, and obviously George Pickens. We all think he's super talented, and I think that's going to start to shine through as well here.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to move us on now to the flip side of the field. We had Zach Wilson making his return to the New York Jets against the Steelers, and he had a solid game too. I mean, they came away with the win. He caught a pass from Braxton Berrios. He caught a touchdown. I don't know, guys. I think Zach Wilson, I liked how he played against the Steelers. I mean, Frank, you're a Steelers fan, so you probably watched this game more intently than the rest of us. What do you think?
Well, this is a tough one because I really do like Zach Wilson. I'm an adamant Zach Wilson truther. And yeah, I was very pleased, I guess is the right word to say, with how Zach Wilson played. I think the first couple drives of the game, you definitely saw the rust, but I think it might have been the fourth drive. He started to get in a little bit of a rhythm. And yeah, the box score isn't the prettiest thing, but the massive improvement that you saw, which was a huge issue of his last year, and this is an issue that has plagued some of the top quarterbacks, and we've seen them blossom when they overcome it, and it's the damn ball placement. He was on fire against the Steelers, especially in the fourth quarter. I mean, last season, he was throwing screens in the dirt, anything over the middle. He was throwing low and not letting his receivers run after the catch. It was not the case. Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore and Corey Davis, all three of them were able to benefit with these yak throws. And I mean, one of the big throws I saw was in the fourth quarter. I think it might have been a third down on that drive where they got the go-ahead touchdown. He was probably half a second late on the throw. I think it was a five-step drop, one hitch. He took an extra hitch. Minka's driving from center field onto Corey Davis, but he threw the ball back shoulder, saw Minka, even though he was half a second late on the throw, but had the ball placement to actually complete the pass downfield. If we continue to see this, I would be very happy, and I think Zach Wilson owners would be very happy. That being said, right, I started looking around. I looked at the Jets subreddit, and guess what the most upvoted post was?
We need another
That's our franchise quarterback.
Okay.
And I know the Jets are going to start running away with this, and so are the other Zach Wilson truthers. So I kind of want to ask you guys this as more unbiased people. I had Zach Wilson before the season and before this game at least a 23 first in value. Definitely on the later side, right? Maybe not pick 12, but somewhere around there. My valuation has gone up from that because I think that was a good performance from him. Are you what is your opinion on that? Is he just in the mixing paradox, hard selling, hard buying?
I wouldn't buy him. I wouldn't give a first for him. Not this year.
I would give a first, but I just think he's in that mixing paradox where I'm not giving up a high first or anything. And I think that's probably at this point what's going to be wanted. Like I've been saying he's a buy for a while now, but what his price was on Keep Trade Cut, I felt like wasn't accurately representing what Zach Wilson was actually worth. And then, I mean, even looking at that, the trade finder, seeing what he was getting traded for, again, I just kind of felt like that wasn't accurate. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are trying to lump in some other quarterbacks into this class, such as Will Levis, but I think it's a very clear two-headed monster in Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. And then after those two guys, like I'm good. Like I don't want any of them really.
No, but this class has good running backs and good wide receivers here that I'd rather take than Zach Wilson.
This class has given me this class has given me some doubts in the terms of like, okay, like was it already overhyped? Because I mean, guys that I've really liked, you can throw a bunch of excuses at it, and I certainly will. But like Kayshon Boutte and Quentin Johnston have not looked as great as what I expected. Jordan Addison's definitely been fine. Jackson Smith and Jigba, when healthy, has been fine. But Josh Downs has actually been pretty good. But like in Superflex, which is what this Dynasty podcast is about, like quarterback is king. And Zach Wilson's currently looking to me like he might jump. I think he's already ahead of Mac Jones in terms of worth. I think he's certainly over Justin Fields at this point. Like he's moving himself up into that tier of like he's a fringe quarterback one at this point. Like people are starting to look at him like he can be that quarterback one. And when you look at that young wide receiver core that he has, and Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, I'll lump Corey Davis in because he's actually a very good third wide receiver on that team. He seems set up for success. Like he seems like someone that's ready to be a very good quarterback. So yeah, I'm not going to give up like a top 5 pick in this draft, but will I give up a pick 8, 9, 10? I'd hard think about that if I'm looking for a quarterback.
No. I mean, even more so, you might be able to flip one of these young receivers into him. Something along the lines that you don't have to necessarily buy him with draft picks. But
yeah, I agree. I'd rather not have to give up the draft pick. But all right, yeah, sorry. Anything else?
I just felt like that was exactly what, as a Jets fan, aside from him going nuclear, right? Exactly what you wanted to see from Zach Wilson. Just for the most part, take care of the football. He had, I think, 2 picks. One was off the hands of his tight end. It was a high throw, but it's not like it was like a horrible interception, threw it right to a defender, Carson Wentz it. And man, he just looked improved, but I might be trying to buy. I don't really know what the price is. I think the problem is that it's just more than a first, right? I'm thinking, am I going to sell for a projected late 23? I'm probably just going to keep him on all my teams. I don't think I want to sell for that.
So he's exactly the Mixon paradox.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean that you might not be able to get him for a smidge more, right? We're talking, what if someone is not an adamant Zach Wilson truther and you threw in a 2 for 3 swap on top of the late first? That might start getting someone thinking that they're getting an overpay off of one performance, which they might very well be. Because that Steelers defense looked shitty without TJ Watt. I'm not gonna lie. We had one dude that could actually rush the passer. That's it.
Yeah, and now they have a divisional game against the Dolphins. I think he should be all right in that. And then they play the Packers, where Bailey Zappi had a couple touchdowns against them. I don't know. Like maybe he could string together a good couple weeks in a row to really start getting the ball rolling.
If Breece Hall continues to play well and improve, and they have that running attack kind of churning, then I think that you're going to see a lot of weeks where he's just kind of in that Ryan Tannehill crew where he's low-end QB1, high-end QB2 territory. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a comfortable place for him to float. It really depends on if you think that he has that elite ceiling and you want to buy in before he potentially blossoms into that, and if you're willing to take the risk.
Well, to also hijack this, because Breece Hall isn't really on our docket/agenda, he's doing everything you want of him so far, I would say. I don't know if you guys agree.
It's the targets, man. It's the targets.
Yeah, he's getting fed. But we've also seen in the past couple of weeks, Michael Carter's starting to seed snap share. He's starting to seed opportunities. It's looking like Breece Hall is slowly but steadily taking over this backfield. And that's exactly what you wanted from the guy who's currently ranked as a top 5 dynasty running back. He's doing what you want from him. So I'm wheels up on Breece Hall. Sorry.
And big improvement for me with him is that I think week 1 it was all Michael Carter in red zone. Whereas you saw game on the line last week, who are they handing the football to? Who are they saying, oh, we need to win this game on the road against Pittsburgh? Hand to Breece Hall.
He was kind of close to giving the game away too, but he did. He did score. All right, I was trying to pull up. Sorry if I seem distracted. I was trying to pull up recent Zach Wilson trades, but it's just not. It's not updating.
Not popular.
So, yeah. All right, I guess I'll just move us along. J.K. Dobbins. Speaking of players I have coming back, J.K. Dobbins back, and then he scores 2 touchdowns. Right, guys?
Yep.
I don't think I got that wrong. So yeah.
Is this a bait though? Is this just
that's what I was gonna
or is it J.K. Dobbins, I'm just a guaranteed touchdown a game because John Harbaugh just only hands the ball to me in the red zone, I guess? Like, oh my god, he's so hard to gauge.
If he starts catching passes, he can be a top tier guy. But I just don't think he is like a pass catching back, and I refuse to believe, like, I don't know, maybe you could put him in that like James Conner of last year where it's just, yeah, you know what, he's going, we're on the goal line, he's scoring a touchdown. Like, maybe you could put him in there, but I still think it's such like a small, I know it's basically a year of data, but it still feels like a small sample size for me to go, yeah, I can rely on J.K. Dobbins to, maybe give me 70 yards and a touchdown a game. Like, I can't trust it. And if he's not scoring touchdowns, he's not going to be relevant for long. Like, he's going to end up falling into that Josh Jacobs kind of realm of a player. I don't know what you guys think.
I've always liked Dobbins, despite the team he plays for. But I kind of agree. It's not sustainable to just get this touchdown every week. He was a touchdown monster when he was playing, and then he got hurt. Now he's back to being a touchdown monster. Like, I just agree. It's tough to think it's going to last this long.
So, do you think he should? Not do you think he's worth? Do you think he should be priced at a 23 late first?
Yes. I think that's a very fair evaluation. He's on one of the best rushing attacks in the league, and he's the lead back. I know they have Lamar, and people will say Lamar is the lead back, which is a fair assessment, honestly, just because he'll run for his own 1,000 yards. But this offense is going to just continually pound the rock, and that's just what Harbaugh has shown, and he's not going to change. And I think if he's the lead back and he's going to get all the goal line touches, then he should be worth that. But it's going to be an inconsistent fantasy play just because he's so touchdown dependent.
I think. Can you guys hear me? I don't know what I just did.
I can hear you.
Okay. I think it's fair to say that he should be worth that first, but God, I don't want to pay it. I mean, if I'm looking at the running backs coming out of his class, there's a lot of guys that I'm kind of more excited about than I am J.K. Dobbins, and I feel like I would very much regret giving up that first for J.K. Dobbins at this point.
It's close. For me, it's close. Like, if I'm a rebuilding team and I needed one more piece to push me over the edge, I'm not going to do that. I'd rather sit back and, draft a guy with my pick and move forward like that. But if I was a contending team here and I needed that last push right now, this second, and you're going to give up the projected 110, let's call it, I think that's probably a good move.
Well, yeah, that's the thing that I think it highlights, though, is that we're talking about a running back that has top 12 upside easily, that you probably could pick up at a 23 first, maybe a smidge more. But I think that is just kind of the going rate, and you might be able to get it done. It really depends on how they think after that week. But from what I'm getting from you guys, the price hasn't really changed from last week. If you had him, would
Yeah.
you be if someone offered you just a contender first, are you taking it? 23?
Like, am I selling J.K. Dobbins?
Yeah, are you selling him?
Very team dependent. It's very team dependent.
You're a middle of the pack team.
I think I probably would. I'd sell.
I'd probably sell.
Honestly, the thing that pisses me off the most about J.K. Dobbins is that I'm worried that his receiving production is slightly inflated just because it's almost like he's maybe this isn't the greatest way to put it because this guy is going off, but I feel like he's just a better CEH, where it's like they just give him bullshit that sustains his production. But maybe that is sustainable because they keep giving him the bullshit, right? Oh, we're on the goal line. We'll give you a little shovel pass or like a jet sweep or something. Like,
you could say this about a lot of running backs, but I struggle to see like what he truly does better than replacement level running backs. Like when I watched the Ravens last year, it's difficult to gauge because what's his name? Tyler Huntley was the quarterback for a decent amount. But I didn't think they like truly struggled in the run game without J.K. Dobbins. Like I think they were strictly fine without Dobbins. And to me, it's just like with the running backs and receivers that can be had around that late first in this class, where you have the likes of I'm going to assume Sean Tucker will probably be there. Maybe Jahmyr Gibbs, depending on where he goes.
Tank Bigsby, maybe.
Tank Bigsby, Kendall Milton. Like there's a lot of just like good running backs in this class. What's his name? I'm even forgetting did I say Zach Evans? I don't know if I said Zach Evans, but there's a lot of good running backs coming out of this class. And giving up that juicy first for a player who already has one ACL injury, and we know that running backs can get injured and everything, like it's just I think it's a very risky move to do. But when I'm looking at this trade finder and I see trades like Calvin Ridley plus Wan'Dale Robinson for J.K. Dobbins, I'm like, okay, like maybe he is attainable. Then I see other trades where giving up Kenneth Walker and the 2023 first for J.K. Dobbins, and I'm like, well, there's no way I'm trading for J.K. Dobbins. All right, I think that wraps up our, welcome back to the. Oh no, sorry, one more guy.
We got Godwin back. This isn't really huge news, but Godwin's back.
Yeah, he only missed a couple weeks.
We don't have Lounis here to go off for like 10 minutes about how Godwin's overrated.
Yeah, and he whatever we just said about I do like Charbonnet too, Joe Hebert, but he is a senior. So I just don't. I think I would rather have had J.K. Dobbins than Zach Charbonnet at this point. Although he has been kind of tearing it up at UCLA this year. Regardless, whatever we're saying about J.K. Dobbins, just pretend that Lounis said the opposite of it and that he's all in on J.K. Dobbins, because that would have been the case.
Yep.
And then also, repeat that all in for Godwin.
Yeah. Yep. And there's not much more to add on Godwin. He had a decent game. The Bucs offense actually looked fine. Their defense just couldn't get a stop for their life,
which is strange. But
yeah, it's kind of the opposite of what we were seeing at the beginning of the year. I don't know. Julio also managed to get hurt again, I think. So that's all even more Godwin.
Yeah. What did you expect there, JT? He's been hurt for 4 years.
I just need a few good games from Julio for him to be worth it. All I need is a few. Just few reliable games.
That 25 seconds going to come in handy.
Yeah, not saying it's my 2025 third. All right. Moving on to the questionable backfields, though. And this is a segment where we've been seeing interesting. Did I cut myself out? No, you guys can still see me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, my camera did a weird thing. Sorry. Hey. 4 weeks into the season, we're starting to get a better picture of what each team's backfield looks like. And I'm going to just start off with what we saw on Sunday night with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that is Leonard Fournette was starting to split carries with Rashaad White. Rashaad White, even after making his, massive massive mistake right at the beginning of the game, muffing the punt or kickoff, sorry, and it's just letting the Chiefs score right away. He still managed to eat a decent amount of Leonard Fournette's target share or carry share. And I don't know about you guys, but if Leonard Fournette isn't a full-on bell cow workhorse running back, what are we doing? Like, that was the whole reason I liked Leonard Fournette, and now you're taking that away. Yeah, Jake's giving the salute.
See ya.
Yeah. Are we?
I don't know. The thing is that it's tough because the game script was so weird, and I mean, let's just call it how it is. That game was kind of a blowout.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I'd rather just look at the other 3 games as an indication of what Leonard Fournette's production is, or even an average of the other 3 games, more so than this one game where the game script is weird. It's a blowout. And even if I'm worried about his carry share, I'll be fine with 7 receptions if that's the price that I have to pay in blowout games.
The problem, though, is like the previous 3 games weren't that great from a Leonard Fournette scoring perspective either. So, I mean, at the price where he's an aging running back, and you could almost certainly have gotten a first for him this year. I think you definitely could have.
I still think you definitely
I think you definitely could have.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I checked trying to get Leonard Fournette in a couple of weeks, and it wasn't. He was one of my targets to get, and then the price was just more than I wanted to pay. Yeah.
I don't have any Fournettes, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Where was I going with that, though? Oh, I don't like him for what imagine I did trade him at that price, trade for him at that price. I don't like what I gave up. Like, I don't like giving up that much for him because he's just not returned that so far.
Yeah, I agree with JT. I think exactly what Frank said is a perfect excuse that people are going to give Fournette, and you could still trade him this week.
I mean, shit, his value is pretty high on keep trade cut.
That's why I'm looking at the trade. I'm looking at the trades. This is from, so what's 9/28? Like a week ago.
Yeah.
So this is before his not great performance. Well, even then he had a solid performance. He scored a touchdown, right? He got traded for 2023 first. Him and Tyler Conklin for DJ Moore. Him and Zach Wilson for 2 firsts, 2 2023 firsts. Leonard Fournette for Devin Singletary and 2 2023 seconds. Leonard Fournette for a 2024 first. Like,
yeah, he is around like, first. Seems like.
Yeah, it seemed like the very much going rate was a first.
I would probably do Leonard Fournette in a second for a first.
You would trade him away?
Yeah, I think I
don't think you have to based on the trades I'm looking at.
I don't think I'd have to do that, but if push came to shove and that's the only way I could get a first, I think I actually would. I didn't realize his price was that high.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I'm out on Leonard Fournette at what's currently happening.
I thought he was at like a mid-second. I thought I was going to pull up, keep trade cut, and this dude was going to be like next to Rondale Moore.
That's the thing. Running backs.
Why you gotta do Rondale like that?
Scoring running backs are such king. Like, I mean, I was on here talking last week about Ramondre Stevenson and Khalil Herbert. They're significantly worse in terms of fantasy points than Leonard Fournette. And them, I was saying I'd give up the mid to early second.
Yeah,
more so. Whatever. Regardless, moving on now to our next.
Our good old friends in Seattle.
Yeah, I think I have a surprising take for you guys.
Oh, God.
This better not be any Rashaad Penny slander.
Oh, it better be.
It's not.
It better be.
It's not really slander. It's just, I think we're in the midst of a very good buy opportunity on Kenneth Walker.
Oh, okay. I don't mind that.
I'm sorry, Frank.
Rashaad Penny, did you see that? Did you see his lines? He's back. With the last 4 games of last season, he's back. He finally doesn't have to play against insanely good run defense. Dude, this guy popped off harder than Antonio Brown's trousers at the hotel.
Oh, okay. Did you have that line?
Right? This guy went crazy. He's going nuts. Dude, Rashaad Penny, top 15, here we come.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you actually believe that?
11.
Yeah, okay.
I think he was my second most bought player this offseason.
I do believe that. I just Rashaad Penny top 15.
Because nobody wants him.
Come on, no love for the Antonio Brown trousers.
No, I just know that's a pre. You had that line ready. That was locked and loaded. I don't know how long you had it locked and loaded, but that was locked and loaded.
Say what you want, but AB was open.
That was wild. Speaking of AB, just quick side note: like, is he now just officially droppable? Like,
Yes.
I thought he was going to come back.
Now?
I mean, dude tried a rap career and that just utterly failed. I thought he was going to be like, all right, like I'll try and play again. But I don't know. It seems like he's forcing his way out of the NFL. Like he's career sabotaging himself for some reason.
GT, have you been under a rock?
I know. But the talent was still like when he was playing for Tampa Bay, he was still like pretty good. And it was just like, if
he could probably show up and be a top 10 receiver right now.
That's what I'm saying. So if you could just like, other than what just happened last week, I mean, I would say he was pretty low key other than like no showing concerts. Like there wasn't really any reason to fade Antonio Brown since his jogging off the field.
That wasn't enough to fade him?
No, because teams will be.
The only reason he was there was because Brady has the power to fire coaches and bring whoever the hell he wants on the team. Sure.
And then he just like posted a picture of himself and Giselle, which is just totally out.
No one wants this guy on their team. I feel
the dude like said like very disparaging things about like John Gruden and Mike Mayock, and teams were still like, yeah, we just saw you burn your way out of Las Vegas, or maybe they're still Oakland at the time. I forget when they switched, but we just saw you burn your way out of the Raiders. Like, come on here to the Patriots. Come on here to Tampa Bay. I know that was mostly Brady driven, but like he was successful and desperate teams will do it. But at this point,
because again, Frank said it. He could go out there right now and be a top 10 wide receiver. It's just the fact that no team wants the headache. He's not worth the headache anymore. He doesn't put up that. He doesn't put up what the 1,700-yard seasons that he did when he was in Pittsburgh. So he's not worth the goddamn headache.
I don't think we're having this exact same conversation a week ago when he had this whole Giselle Instagram thing and then his pool photos. I don't know how to describe this. I think we could be talking about like Aaron Rodgers struggles against the Patriots, like maybe AB to the Packers, like that kind of stuff. And now I just think it's dead. I don't know how we hijacked Rashaad Penny.
Okay, outside of the antics as well, it's now he can't stay healthy because I'm not sure he cares about his body as much as he did before. I that might just be completely wrong, but you look at the past couple seasons, he's just had nagging injuries. He was saying to teams, you have to let me have ankle surgery if you're going to sign me. It's just no shot.
All right, but back to Rashaad Penny and Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker scored like 10 points on the season so far. He was injured for the first 2 weeks. And then the next 2 games, he put up like 5 and 4 points. That is kind of a generalization. I don't have the actual stats in front of me, but it wasn't anything significant. I just think, they did do it to Rashaad Penny where they just kept Chris Carson in front of him the whole way. But I think when you spend that kind of draft capital on that kind of running back who did have a very good final season at Michigan State, I do think at some point he's going to get these opportunities. And I do think at some point he's going to have at least one good game. And where he's currently ranked, which is like running back 20, I'm going to pull it up right now.
RB 19.
19. Yeah. Behind the likes of, 28-year-old Derrick Henry, 27-year-old Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, who's stuck in the timeshare, Travis Etienne, who's stuck in the timeshare. I just think he has an opportunity to pop. I think he can blow up and give a meteoric rise to his value. Because if Kenneth Walker is good, he's instantly in that top 10 running back conversation. Because he's so young, because he's on a team that like literally had Russell Wilson like forcing his way out of there because they don't throw it enough. Like, it's a very good situation, I would say, for him. And at the price that he is, I think I'm willing to take the chance of. I was a Kenneth Walker hater too, because of how high he was ranked before. But I think at the price he is now, I'm willing to take the shot on Kenneth Walker.
I mean, I've always liked Kenneth Walker. I thought he was a talented back coming out, but
I think RB19. Let's add a 1 in front of that, and then we've got his accurate rank.
There's the Rashaad Penny guy.
Biggest bait. Don't fall for it. Don't buy the face planter. You're buying the face planter. No discount.
It's not a face planter until we get to Meg. This dude
he's not a face planter. He just hasn't crossed the finish line yet. All right.
He's got 13 weeks ahead of him.
But he face planted into the pie, and now he's just got to run across the finish line.
I don't think he's necessarily. I think if we're looking at what his value is, I don't even know if you call it a face planter yet. Like, he hasn't fully tanked.
That's because we gotta get you crackheads to go in and buy low on him, and then once he has another 4 games and another 4 games of extremely mediocre production, then it's gonna be like, oh crap, like we shouldn't value him that high.
Disagree. I think he'll have good games. But whatever. We're just gonna
everybody see Joe. Everybody says meteoric rise, but meteors fall. That's what I'm saying. Meteors fall.
Is that what you're saying?
Kenneth Walker is going to be walking his way across the finish line at an RB 43 finish.
All right.
You just gotta be healthy to break that. He's healthy now. I think he's fine. I don't know. We're just gonna go in circles here, though. So moving us along to the Chicago Bears backfield, and what do we think about? First off, it's a Bears offense that doesn't offer us a whole lot, but we do have probably the 2 most intriguing guys at this point is their backfield in David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. I'll just ask you guys straight up, like, going into the 2023 season, which guy is more valuable? Difficult, right?
It's harder than I would
David
like
Montgomery.
it to be. I think it's going to be Montgomery as well.
I think Herbert, but it's difficult. And I think looking at keep trade cut again, if I go back, we have David Montgomery is currently RB27, while Khalil Herbert is RB28. They're right there. They're right there. And it's just who we think is a more sustainable back in this team. I don't know, guys. I've been liking what I've been seeing from Khalil Herbert. Although, I mean, this week against the Giants wasn't anything special.
I like Khalil Herbert as well, but I think the big misunderstanding that I have with everyone else with Khalil Herbert. Listen, I love Khalil Herbert. I picked him up in a ton of dynasty leagues. I already sold him, but whatever. I don't think he has the upside other people do. If you were coming out here and saying, okay, Khalil Herbert is going to be the starting running back on the Bears next year when David Montgomery leaves, well, I think that means he's an Elijah Mitchell, not, he becomes like an Aaron Jones level fantasy producer. And that's the problem I have, is that I'm going to pay for a running back that I believe has like Elijah Mitchell level ceiling at Elijah Mitchell price almost right now, right? That I imagine they're pretty damn close on keep trade cut right now. I'm just not going to be buying Khalil Herbert. The price is going to be too high. It's like the same thing on A.J. Dillon. I thought he was a fine player, but now the price is just going to be astronomically higher than the realistic production he's going to get.
But that's kind of more so why I want to be in on Khalil Herbert right now, is because I think, 1, he'll give you a decent amount of points going into the season. And then 2, when the offseason rumors start swirling, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember how high A.J. Dillon rose.
Yeah, he did.
With Aaron Jones potentially being gone. Just sell then if you don't want Khalil Herbert. I think that's a good time to just get out if you don't want to take the risk. I think you get free points right now, and I don't think his value is going to go down. So
Do you know
you
what
could
this
just say it.
backfield is?
No.
This backfield is Cowboys North, okay? It's two backs that are both overrated, and one thinks the backup is better than the starter. It's the fucking Cowboys.
Sure, but I mean, even then, Tony Pollard, he got a big increase. Like, he's gotten big increases.
Sure,
in
value
offseason and
wise,
everything.
like I don't hate what you're saying, JT, but just straight up as players and value as they stand, I think they're both overrated. I know I was a big Montgomery guy in the offseason. He is just I've completely flipped the switch. He's overrated. And Herbert's had a few nice games as a backup. Like that's what it is. I don't think he's worth this high second that people are willing to pay for him right now. And I'm with Frank. If I'm going to go out and spend a high second on a running back, it's certainly not going to be on Khalil Herbert. It's going to be on someone that's more established and in a more
but
stable
who is
position.
that guy? Well, imagine you're a contender for some reason. You want a running back. Let's just pretend that you're set on running back. Who is that running back that you are spending that early second on, that you feasibly could get for that early second?
Let's find out.
For early second, what running back do I want?
I'll give
Miles Sanders right now looks good in the past few weeks.
You are a Miles Sanders guy?
No, I'm not, but I'm just going down the list.
Okay.
Miles Sanders, I think, is a guy you could get for around that second price, and I'd rather him than Khalil Herbert. I think you could get, realistically, Derrick Henry if you really wanted to go down that route. If you want, maybe you throw 2 seconds.
Weren't you the guy that was just saying that you were afraid of Derrick Henry the rest of the season, though?
Yeah, but again, you're not going to, for a second, I think that's
I don't think you're getting him for a second, though. That's the issue there.
And I also think with Derrick Henry, I mean, the wheels could just fall off, where with Khalil Herbert, I think you're kind of just...
Bro, you guys are missing the easy one here. There's a layup.
I'm the one that posed the question. You
don't even need to pay a second. You can get something on top.
What is it?
Rashaad Penny.
Oh my.
Okay.
This guy. Josh Jacobs. I hate Josh Jacobs. So no.
I just think at the end
I'd rather James Robinson.
David Montgomery is a more talented running back to me than Khalil Herbert is. I think they're both good running backs, though. And there's probably a good argument that Khalil Herbert fits this scheme better than Montgomery does. And it's an extremely similar scheme to what he was running his last year in college. He went to Virginia Tech, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, yeah. Not getting confused. Yeah, I think that zone scheme that they ran when he was there is very similar to what the Bears are running, which is going to help him out a little bit.
Now that give me like 20 seconds to entertain me here. I was thinking, oh wait, maybe he went to Buffalo, but I know he didn't. Who did?
No,
Jared Patterson.
That was Jared Patterson.
Yeah. Okay.
Mac legend.
He was a beast.
Mac
Wednesday night Maction, Jared Patterson overs all day. Let's go.
I agree with Joe. People are assuming Herbert starts there next year, but that's not given. I agree, but I think you could just buy him now, hold him through the season, and then just sell him at the end of the season.
Sure.
All right. Moving us along to the next one. I feel like we might have talked about him every week, but it is Dameon Pierce, who did pop off against the Chargers, who notoriously have a strong rush defense. He had 131 yards and a touchdown against these guys. Again, I'm just going to repeat what I've said earlier, and you guys tell me where you disagree or maybe add on anything. But I just think Dameon Pierce, I'll put my hand up and say I was wrong in the fact that I didn't think he could be a true bell cow guy, just given his production in Florida and how he was never that in Florida. But I mean, currently on the Texans, it appears he can be. But where I'm not willing to apologize is just he's always been super overvalued. He's always required that kind of 2023 first round pick. He was on that bubble. Now I think he's firmly in that 2023 first round pick you'd have to give up for him. And I'm not doing that for Dameon Pierce. I think at any time he could just completely go down to zero and not be worth it. I would just rather have that 2023 first. So I don't know if you guys might.
I'm just not sure he's going to go down. Like, I don't think his floor is down to 0, but
Yeah,
I
that might
agree
have been.
right now. Okay, last game he had that one. It was like what, 50, 40, 60-yard touchdown?
I think it was 71 or something.
Yeah, he had a long touchdown. Outside of that, he's been average at best. He's been just mainly a volume guy. I actually like the 7 catches more than I like the rushing yards stat.
Well, I was more so surprised with the carries of he had 15 in week 2 and 20 in week 3, whereas like I thought he was at max a 10, 12 carry a week guy.
Yeah, they are feeding him. And at the end of the day, if they keep feeding him, he's going to be a halfway decent running back, right? That's just the number one determining factor if you're a good running back. Well, how many carries do you get? If he's averaging 17 carries, the guy could be pretty crap and he'll still be a decent fantasy running back.
Yeah.
The question is, if you're going to buy, you're right. You have to pay a price to where you believe in this guy long term. Like you, JT, probably like you, Jake. I don't think any of us are willing to put our chips that this Houston Texans organization and Dameon Pierce are going to be good, that this current setup, dude, what is the hope for the Texans right now? They get a good fucking defense because they have so many needs still.
This team is just going to continually draft best available, I think, until they get to the point where they're pretty much forcing themselves to take a quarterback. That's how they should do it.
I think currently they're set up to get 101 in this year's draft.
Okay, that would definitely help. Yeah, that would massively help.
And then
I don't know. Davis Mills hasn't been bad. I know we'll get to him later, but like he hasn't been bad.
It's the Josh Rosen. I mean, Josh Rosen wasn't awful in his first year in Arizona. He wasn't great. Like he definitely wasn't good though. But it's just like when you have the shiny new quarterback compared to just this like okay guy. Like I think every time you gotta go with the shiny new quarterback.
100%.
Yeah.
They also have they have a ton of draft capital from the Deshaun Watson trade and everything too. So
okay.
I think this is a team that can build up fairly quickly.
I don't know, man. I'm not buying into Dameon Pierce. I don't think I'm buying into any of the Texans.
No.
Not even like a Brandon Cooks. He's the only.
I still think we bought into him in our orphan league because we got a good price, but I think in most leagues you're just not going to get a good price that it's worth investing in Cooks in. And even when I'm investing in Cooks, I'm not doing it for next year. I'm doing it because I need like a flex play right now or a wide receiver 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mills is not making the case that he's a man. Yeah, I agree with that.
So we also have Brian Robinson who was activated, and the reason I laughed was because I took Baker Mayfield as comeback player of the year, and I just think Brian Robinson has to like play a couple games and look somewhat okay, and he's just automatically a lock. Whereas Baker, I think he's already
he's never played in the NFL. How is he the comeback player of the year?
Well, the dude got shot. How do you beat that? How do you beat that?
Award. It's not a pity award.
I just don't know who else you could call comeback player.
Dude, he's gonna get the dog in him award.
Well,
yeah, I'm just curious if this is any threat to the status quo in Washington with Antonio Gibson being the workhorse right now.
I think if the preseason showed anything, it showed that Antonio Gibson was not part of the plan and that he was kind of forced to be the plan following, the incident that Brian Robinson got himself into here. I mean,
I don't know if he got himself into the incident.
Well, bad phrasing that he fell into, put it that way. But I mean, you got to assume that at some point they give him the opportunity to at least win the job. It looked like he won the job in preseason. So
yeah, well, talking heads are still referring to him as the starting running back. Like I forget if it was Rappaport or Pelissero or whatever. One of them's like, oh yeah, starting running back is returning for the Washington Commanders.
Yeah,
take that with a grain of salt, but like I think he is the guy.
I think the one thing that is really pointing in his direction as well, man, this Washington Commanders offense has been rough the past couple weeks.
They have played some top defenses.
Yes, so. And what's frustrating, I think, is that you get some plays still from the receivers, right? Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, and those two guys have their like 1 or 2 plays a game that they make. Curtis Samuel's leading the team in targets, but without this running game being pretty darn good, I think it's pretty clear that Carson Wentz is not going to be able to, game in and game out, be relied on to win this team football games offensively. So, I end up agreeing with Jake. There's probably going to be a pretty darn good shot. I'm just curious as to the timeline. Is there going to be like, oh, next week, all of a sudden, Brian Robinson, 15 carries? Or is it going to be, we're going to ease him in, right? 7 carries this week, only plays a handful of snaps. And then the next week he gets 10. And then, I'm just kind of getting freaking leashed along like a dog at the park.
Even with someone like, I'm going to pull it up right now. I'll look at his stats. Like, Breece Hall, who was taken higher than Brian Robinson and was, he's expected to take over that Jets backfield at some point. He was 6 carries, 7 carries, 8 carries, 17 carries last week. So I do think there is that kind of ramp up that you're going to, if I pull up like Jonathan Taylor right now too, like going back a couple of years, the plan is always to bring in those guys slowly, I believe. Looking at Jonathan Taylor, it was 9. Then it was 26, but that was because Marlon Mack tore his ACL, Achilles. Then it was 13. It went back down to 13 and everything. Like I think you're just giving them that kind of ramp, like you're saying. Like I'm not expecting Brian Robinson to pop off. It would be a pleasant surprise, but I think you're going to see like, oh, he flashed here. He made a rookie mistake here for the first, I'll say month. I do like Brian Robinson. Keeping us moving, though. Last questionable backfield, and then we have one more segment. We're looking at the Miami Dolphins backfield. This one I found surprising because of how, I don't know if underreported is the term I'd say, but this looks to be Raheem Mostert's backfield. And I don't think anyone's really talking about Raheem Mostert as a starting running back in fantasy, or a startable running back in fantasy. I think if you gauged most people, they'd probably still say that Chase Edmonds is the lead back, but I pulled it up before we started the pod because I literally asked this question: who is the starting running back for the Miami Dolphins? And Raheem Mostert had 5 carries in week 1, but then he had 11, 8, and 15 in the following 3 weeks. Whereas Chase Edmonds has kind of gone in the reverse direction, where Chase Edmonds in week 1 had 12 carries, and then he's had 5, 6, 5. Which that's backup level carries.
Well, and I think more concerning for Chase Edmonds is that in the past 3 games, Raheem Mostert's also been out targeting him. So it's not like you can use the excuse that, Chase Edmonds is going to gobble up the passing down work, kind of like he did in Arizona. Yeah, this is a heavy panic on Chase Edmonds. I'm not really sure you're going to be able to sell him if you have him. Maybe you can, because I agree with you. I feel like this has just been swept under the rug for whatever reason.
Tua kind of dominates the Miami conversation at this
point. Joe brings up a good point with Mostert and Penny in that because they've kind of been flashes shown running backs for the past couple of years, that maybe it's just people aren't going to take the bait anymore, where we're not going to buy them off flashes because we've seen it before and it's been bait every single time.
I guess. But what is? I'm going to pull up. It's not fully updated. I don't know why I pulled it. I pulled this today. The trades. But I'm going to see what like Raheem Mostert has been traded for, and I can't imagine it's been a whole lot.
Dude, I think if you were to across leagues offer a third for Mostert, I think you could get that in a decent amount of them.
I think you could. He's just one of these guys that's like, people think he's always injured and he's old, which he is, but that's why his price is at a third for a guy that's getting 10 to 15 carries a game.
Is that worth it though? Like, I'm not sure I would want to give up a third for Monster.
I'm looking though. It seems to be less than that. Now, keep in mind, this isn't updated. This is a week behind. So
Okay.
take that with what you will. I mean, last week though, if I'm looking, did he have a good week last week? He had an okay week.
He was all right. He got a good amount of carries, but it didn't really translate into.
Yeah, he only had 9 fantasy points, so it's not like he's popping off all of a sudden on people's radar. He's been traded for a 2024 fourth, a 2023 fourth, Sterling Shepard before Sterling Shepard tore his Achilles, brutal trade there. A 2023 third.
I was thinking of a trade where maybe you could tear down from a guy like Devin Duvernay, which is a funny sentence to say.
I would totally tear down from Devin Duvernay.
Yeah, if you could get Raheem Mostert and just anything for whatever the value difference is on keep trade cut is what I'd aim for Mostert, just to cash out on Devin Duvernay. But obviously you're going to struggle cashing out on Devin Duvernay for a second in most leagues. So finding a more creative way, getting a usable flex running back, RB4 type player, and lower level draft capital, it could be worth it.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a sneaky points that you could get in your lineup looking for that flex kind of play. Maybe you have a running back on bye and a running back on IR or something, and you need someone to slot into the RB2. You're not going to find much cheaper production. I think even more so than that,
if you're one of those teams that just has a lot of those mediocre level receivers, right? Your team is full of the Jarvis Landrys, the Devin Duvernays, the Adam Thielen, but you can at least play him. Like those, if you have a roster of those kinds of guys, it's annoying because you really. A guy like Devin Duvernay is a tough player to have because you don't want to sell him because what are you going to sell him for? Mm-hmm. The most you're going to get in a lot of leagues, I've tried to sell him for a second, I can't, is a third. Yes, people have sold him for a second. It's not impossible. I don't want to sell him for anything less than that, though. Honestly. Even his current target share in the team and everything.
Just thinking out loud, like, the quality of players that I would trade for, the quality of like receiver like players that I would trade for Raheem Mostert. I'm trying to think of like where that line is
not
drawn.
Very good.
But like Isaiah McKenzie, for example, right? Like I'd trade him for Raheem Mostert. I don't know if that's consensus. But then other players like, let me see if Raheem Mostert's on this list. Okay. He's currently 1530 on keep trade cut. And the players above him are Nicole Hardman. I would definitely trade for Raheem Mostert. KJ Hamler, Greg Dortch, Jalen Tolbert, I would. Zay Jones, I would. Russell Gage, I would. KJ Osborne, Diamond Peoples-Jones. Like all those guys I'd give up for Raheem Mostert. I don't know if you guys disagree on any of them, but
I think I for some of them, I mean, most of those guys, yes. But as we start going up the list, I might want to get a little bit more value.
Oh, if I could definitely get more
player
value,
dependent.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, I just think having those types of receivers is a tough spot because they're way too good to cut. They're too annoying to trade. You just can't get the fair value for them. And at the same time, you're not really starting them unless you're forced to.
Yeah, they're not. They're on my bench, and they're not really ever coming off my bench. And
they're clogged, man. At least Raheem Mostert. If Chase Edmonds gets hurt, then it's just wheels up for Mostert. I mean, even right now, if he was just a little bit more efficient, which we kind of saw some of the juice he had last game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he could be good.
All right, last segment. It is the weird quarterbacks. These are the guys who, I mean, 2 of them played against each other this week, but it's guys that we wonder, like, what's their future after the season? What's their dynasty value? Where are they? Are they starting quarterbacks? And these 2 are the current ones that we're focusing on are Jared Goff and Geno Smith, who combined.
The reason I put this segment in here is that I saw a tweet of some dude that ran one of those. I think it was a Pro Football Reference query on a couple of parameters, and it was the gist of the query. I remember exactly what it was the most passing yards per game for a quarterback seasons 27 and under. their age. Does that mean I did a terrible job? Quarterbacks, when they were aged 27 and under, their average passing yards per game.
Mm-hmm.
And Jared Goff was way higher on the list than you would give him credit for. And at the same time,
that's Rams Jared Goff.
Yeah, but at the same time, right now, I don't know about that. His touchdown to interception ratio also, once again, way better. And with some of these top end quarterbacks, that got me thinking. With the way that Jared Goff is playing right now, I mean, listen, man, I've been calling him bait for like ever since he got drafted. Maybe he's not. Maybe Jared Goff is able to go out here with the Lions. They continue to have a good offense. They figure out a couple things out on defense. And the Lions are in a position where they're not drafting a quarterback early in the draft next year.
Yeah, I completely agree with that part. The problem I have is I think he just falls onto that Kirk Cousins continuum of he's just like he's the cheaper. Look, this isn't mine. This isn't mine. I'm stealing it from I forget who came up with this whole thing, but I just think he's going to pass a decent amount of times, but at the end of the day, I mean, other than when he's part of one of the highest scoring games ever, he's a quarterback too, like a fringe quarterback too. He's good. Like he's gonna get you points, but he's like a cheaper Mac Jones. He's a cheaper, I don't know, put in someone else that's expensive.
You want to know what's hilarious? Isley in the chat, I think Garoppolo and Tannehill are worth throwing in that conversation too. We were gonna throw them in that conversation. I was like, no, they're not in there.
Yeah, I threw them in there, obviously. Thank you. What was I gonna say though about Jared Goff? Oh yeah, I mean, this Lions team had the first pick, and I forget what they traded up for to take Jameson Williams, but they had two top picks in this draft, and they decided to roll with those guys instead of Kenny Pickett. Now you could say, well, what does that tell you about Kenny Pickett? But I think it tells you that they at least think Jared Goff is a competent quarterback to the point of like, why are we going to go out and get this kind of quarterback when we have Jared Goff? Like, he's not, these aren't the shiny guys. And where you have this now is to steal from something else. I think Pardon My Take said the Lions are capable of losing to any team by 3 points, but also beating any team by 3 points. Like that is this Lions team. And currently, I think they're just in that position where they're not going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, one of those top 2-3 draft picks where you're going to, instead of looking at CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, you're looking at Will Levis. And do I think Will Levis is better than Jared Goff? No, I don't. I'm kind of a Will Levis hater, but.
And this is the GM of the Lions that drafted Goff on the Rams as well.
Mm-hmm.
What picks did they give up in the Jameson Williams deal? I'm just curious. I don't remember.
Who'd they trade with?
Saints,
Jameson
right?
No. Is it the Texans that they made the move with?
I think one.
If it's the Texans, I think it's a third. All right. The Lions dealt picks number 32, 34, and 66 with the Minnesota Vikings, rare in division trade, for 12 and 46. So nothing outside. It seems like nothing outside of the draft that they traded.
All right. So they still have all their picks if they want to move up, is what I'm hearing.
That
was actually a really interesting trade because I'm pretty sure both of those teams are kind of like big into data analytics nowadays, but one of the trades was very favorable according to like PFF's trade analyzer valuation thing, and then the other ones was valued on like another guy's one. And it was really interesting to see, like, we're seeing like data analytics battles between teams in with the trades now.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Lions draft picks. They have their first round this year and the Rams, and then just chalk second, third, fourth, fifth. They have the Broncos.
I forgot they have the Rams pick for like the next 5 years.
Yeah, I mean the Rams did get a Super Bowl out of it, but now they look not like a Super Bowl team.
What about Geno Smith though? How are we thinking about Geno Smith? I mean, you talk about a guy that looks massively improved.
I just don't understand. I still
don't believe it's sustainable.
I don't know what's going on. We've seen this guy. It's not a surprise. He's been a starting quarterback multiple times for multiple different teams. What is going on?
Yeah, but has he ever had a DK Metcalf? I'm trying to think of like previous Geno Smith teams. Has he ever had?
Who did he have? Who did he
Those
have?
Jets teams had like washed up Brandon Marshall and Decker, right?
Was that them?
Was that Geno Smith's time, or was that still Mark Sanchez?
I don't know. And then
I can't remember. What years was he the damn quarterback of the Jets?
13, 14, 15, 16 is when he was on the Jets.
So is that like washed up Santonio Holmes time? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker. Okay.
Regardless, these
Matt
were washed
Forte
up.
Jets.
I forgot Matt Forte did that. So Jets is where running backs go to die.
Yeah, but dude, what if Geno Smith is just channeling his inner Ryan Fitzpatrick and it's like, dude, I am now going to be the journeyman quarterback that starts for a new team every year.
I just don't see it. I'm sorry. He's played really well, and I give him all the credit in the world, but I just don't see it. And everyone knows Seattle's going to take a quarterback. They're going to be one of the bottom 2 teams in the league, right? They have to.
I don't know.
Listen, I don't believe it either. I think this is another classic 4-game bait.
Yeah.
The same thing with Jared Goff. It could be the classic Jared Goff first 4-game bait we saw last year.
I do agree that like I don't think it's sustainable for Geno Smith, but I'm not sure if the Seahawks are high enough to take. Now they can move up. They have the Broncos picks, right, to also trade up if they need. But at what they're currently playing at, I don't know if they're going to be that top 2 or 3 conversation.
I think that they might be the team though that goes in and tries to be like the trade team, kind of like what the Broncos did to them. Like, I think that's one of the major reasons why you see them not deal Lockett for just pennies and clear the cap space and sign DK, bring in Fant, right? Draft the fucking running backs. Just make this offense as juicy as possible. So whenever the next good quarterback gets all unsettled, right? Maybe it's Aaron Rodgers next year. Aaron Rodgers is like, dude, fuck this. My team sucks. Now I want a ring hop. That they're in a position where you can be like, Aaron Rodgers, we will spend 4 firsts on receivers for you. Come here.
But if you're Aaron Rodgers looking to ring hop, are you like a Seattle, like the top team you want to go to? I don't know.
No, they're trying to set themselves up because you could have said the same thing about the Broncos for a couple years, but you do a couple years of juicing, and then all of a sudden you're there.
Are these established quarterbacks going to want to play for Pete Carroll?
It doesn't matter. If they pay you the most and you're a starter, you say thank you very much.
But Aaron Rodgers can go literally anywhere.
Dude, they can just Bruce Arians him. Dude, if Tom Brady was like, dude, I want to play for the Seahawks, Pete Carroll's can.
You would think that, but Aaron Rodgers is just like, hey, like maybe like let's not draft Jordan Love in the first round and maybe draft like someone like T. Higgins instead. And the Packers are like, no, we're gonna go with Jordan Love, and we're also
that's because they don't have an owner.
Sure. I don't know. Like I think that's more unrealistic, and I think we've been in a weird era of quarterback switching teams like they have recently. I think how they get their quarterback is through the draft, but I just don't know if it's through this draft that they get the quarterback.
They're going to end up being very bad, and they're going to get a quarterback.
I mean, they already have 2 wins.
So Jared Goff, his price, early second.
Sorry, what?
Jared Goff, early second. Buy, sell.
Give me the second. I don't buy
sell. It. So I'd rather Kirk Cousins.
Dang, you know what? I'm going to take the early second. Fuck it. No, I'm not taking the bait. Geno Smith for early 23 third.
I don't mind it. If you need another quarterback, I don't mind it.
I'm going to take the Geno Smith as well.
Yeah, the thirds come and go pretty easily. If you want the quarterback, I go with Geno Smith.
I just think once again, it's realistically, though, I think in most of my leagues, I'd rather shoot for a better quarterback, though. That's the only problem. Like, instead of
who is
offering a
that better
third
quarterback that you're shooting for than
I would
Geno?
rather give up the first plus for Zach Wilson.
Oh, okay, all right, we're going crazy here.
All right,
Yeah.
well, that's a lot different.
I thought we were looking for like, you had.
No, I'm not budget
had-
buying.
Okay.
Dude, when it comes to these QBs, man, I want to be bougie as fuck. All right, I want the
But
flashy guys.
say you were like a bougie guy, right? And I don't know, say like Tom Brady, you have like the Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes are your two quarterbacks right now, and say Tom Brady gets hurt, because I think he was already holding his shoulder last week. Like, say he gets hurt, and you're just looking for that plug and play kind of guy for,
Yeah, I give up a third for Geno.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
That's more so how I was envisioning
All right,
trading for Geno
JT,
Smith.
back me into a corner.
Yeah, I will. Anything
Do
else
we
we
want
want
to
to add?
touch on Tannehill and them?
No, I mean,
Garoppolo?
nah, we've touched on those guys before. We don't talk enough about Jared Goff and Geno Smith, the big names.
Would you budget buy for QB 3/4 though as a Dak owner? I mean, a few weeks ago I probably would have. Now at this point, I think you're kind of just holding. I don't think he's coming back this week, but
I think that also depends on your roster too, because if let's say you can't get Geno Smith for a third, you have to give a second, and you do a lot of the other like realistic quarterback buys, because I think that's one of the things that's tough on Keep Trade Cut is that with these quarterbacks, if they are evenly distributed across your league and there's a lot of competitive teams, people aren't going to want to give up their QB3 even if they're getting a fair trade. This is kind of how it goes. If you have a good roster, you could just play a halfway decent player or trade for a halfway decent player to play in your flex. I know that's not the most popular thing to do, but it's not impossible to have success and do that. I lost 2 championships doing that last year. Victory lapping, losing.
Yeah.
elite 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcasts.
Also, Isley said Dobbs looking real good. I do tend to like. Again, it's small sample size, but I have liked what I've seen out of Romeo Dobbs so far.
But all right, that's gonna do it from us here, I think. Then.
Yeah.
That's all we got on the plate.
So season 3, episode 10 of the 3rd and 20 Dynasty podcast. Thank you all for watching, listening, whatever you do. Make sure to please, however you consume our beautiful voices and Jake's, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe.
All right. Close the show. Let's go.
At least it's not Lounis and his muffled mic and whatever he's doing. But
all right, you want to hear Garoppolo talk? All right, fine, Icy. We'll talk about Garoppolo.
Oh, the Niners fan wants Garoppolo talk. Why?
Is Isley the fan? I don't think Isley is the.
Oh, he's not. Tickle is, right?
Yeah. Who I think is.
Okay, you want? Me and JT were actually talking about Jimmy Garoppolo last night. You want to know what the problem with Jimmy Garoppolo is?
What?
He's Kirk Cousins with worse accuracy. That's the problem.
He also, I think Kirk Cousins has a better arm too. He's just mega discount Kirk Cousins.
No, he's not mega discount.
He is mega
he's
discount.
Slight discount.
No,
last year, Jimmy G was like leading the league in turnover worthy plays that weren't like he was leading the league in turnover luck essentially. That he should have had a lot more turnovers than he did. And I mean, you saw it you saw it just yesterday as we're recording this on Tuesday. Peyton Manning said it himself, like when he had that long touchdown to Deebo Samuel, which wasn't that long, it was basically all Deebo's work. Peyton Manning was like, yeah, I don't know if Jimmy G did this on purpose. I doubt it, but it should have been a pick 6. But where I was going with this is Geno Smith has gotten very lucky with his lack of turnovers, and he also doesn't make those big time throws.
You mean Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah, who am I saying?
You said Geno Smith. All right, you confused me there.
Yeah, sorry. Jimmy G.
Do you think he'll start somewhere next year?
It depends.
That's such a tough question.
I really don't think so.
Yeah, but the thing is, dude, this is a league where 2 years ago, Tyrod Taylor was starting, right? This is a league where fucking Davis Mills came into a season as a starter, right? It's like,
I think
after
the
injury, but, like-
two places that I see Jimmy G going to are just the two teams that are just constantly stuck in purgatory in the terms of Indianapolis Colts or the Washington Commanders. We're just like, oh, we tried this quarterback. We have a decent team. Let's try this one. And every year it just fails. So I could see him playing for those two teams, but I don't think it's not gonna be pretty. Like, you're not gonna get a lot of fantasy points.
Dude, Jimmy G is too good to be a backup, but he's nowhere near good enough to be a starter.
So he's
And
going to the
that's-
Carolina Panthers, right?
Yeah,
Got it.
Oh, well, Indy it is.
Yeah. Jimmy G is
yeah.
a bus driver. Agreed. All right. Now we'll wrap it up. Thank you everyone for listening, watching, subscribing, whatever. We really appreciate it. It's very nice of you folks. So thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.